Well, guys, we're going to start with something good. And, of course, some history stuff. Let's get into this.
It's you and
All right, so you guys know the stuff that happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd. And, of course, we all know that is some serious bullshit. Of course, with the cops being a piece of crap that they are, we can understand why. Obviously, it's affecting many communities throughout. And it's spreading across the nation. And it's also feeling effects here in New Orleans. They had a protest on the West Bank that got up onto the highway. And of course, the police department did some shitty things that they should not have done. Obviously, the police department is a piece of crap. Nothing but pigs. And I feel for my comrades that have had to deal with the bullshit from these people. But what I'm really angry about is the fact that the city has had 200 years that we've dealt with this. Okay? So, if you guys don't know this, right now New Orleans is in a situation where, and we've been in this situation for some time, where we have not just Confederate statues that are all over the city, but names of streets have been named after Confederate generals, Confederate leaders, and even the Confederate president. It's sad to say, but that is the truth. I fucking hate it. In my opinion, all of these streets should be renamed. The statues should come down. And there should be no semblance of the Confederacy at all being supported in the public, period. And it's hard for me to say that it should be even supported even in a museum. Because some museums tend to support this idea of promoting the Confederacy. We can look at it in this way. Obviously, museums of history tend to be staunchly pro-Confederacy, even down here in the South, down here in New Orleans. Staunchly pro-Confederacy. We need to stop the production. And I'm serious on this. Stop the production and sale of any Confederate material, period. Flags, memorabilia, any of that shit. Sale and production of it at all costs on a federal level. I know Donald Trump, his stupid dumbass, is not going to do it, but we need to have it done. My other situation is that this. If you go on the western side of the city, you go into the suburbs, you run into people who will say that it's heritage, not hate. But here's the situation with that. Every single white person in the city of New Orleans, our ancestors come from Europe. Majority of them. Very, very little of our ancestry comes from the United States. Majority of them come from Europe, so to speak. So we can hardly trace our heritage back to the Civil War or back to the Confederate States or even the Northern States. And it's that way throughout the country for white people. So this situation of, well, all the Confederate statues mean this and this and this, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. The statues don't have DNA. They're not genetically linked to you. Okay? They're not linked to your ancestors. Okay? And that's the thing that most people in the South don't understand. Where they're drawing their idea of they're linked to my ancestors is this. Their grandparents grew up around these statues and around these streets and grew up knowing them. But what's the other thing is that they grew up learning the hatred. And learning the hatred, not as hatred, but as history. Learning a false narrative. Being taught in school how to hate. They were taught by people like the Daughters of the Confederacy how to hate. Now I'm going to say just one other thing. You see, the Daughters of the Confederacy had publications in high schools, in the public school system. They had historians working for them. They actually had connections in the museum system. So the idea is of putting these statues in museums when the museums themselves are pro-Confederacy. What's the fucking point? See, the thing is, people of my race will never understand that situation. They've lost their minority status. They've lost what it means to be a minority. They've lost what it means to be oppressed. You have to deal with situations. You know, yes, of course, you had people, the Germans hating the Irish and the Irish hating the Germans and this and that, blah, 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 bullshit. But they've lost the idea of what it means to feel this pain, this social pain that one has to feel. See, because when you're in that social group and the entire social group is oppressed by the police department, by whatever, you have to deal with the social pressure yourself as well. And they've lost that. So the feeling of it when you now are in other minority groups like the LGBT community, or when you're in groups like the schizophrenia community, and you start realizing all the oppression that those communities have faced, now you have to face them. So me being gay, me being schizophrenic, now I have to face those problems, those situations, and those this. And that's why it's a very good thing for me to be proud to be gay, to be proud to be this, to be proud to fly these colors, to be proud to be schizophrenic, because I do feel the pain that the rest of the community feels. And every single black person that's out there, every single African American person, I need to say, that is out there, feels the pain of what their community has to go through just because of this. All it takes is one person to face that because they've had a history of it, because they've been oppressed, because they understand what it's like being oppressed. People in the white community have lost that centuries ago, you see. And now because of this, you have people that never felt it, that don't understand what it means to be socially oppressed at all, and just thinks that you can build your way out of the system. It doesn't work that way. Put yourself in the LGBT community. Put yourself in the African American community. Put yourself in the disabled community. And it's even more weird because some of these people are elderly. Some of these people have disabilities but can't understand the social issues that are put on themselves. It's like Helen Keller said one time. Blindness is caused by greed. And it seems to me that this is the capability. This is what happens to them when they are in these communities, when they're in the disabled community. They have so much of this that they can't feel the social pressures. And then the other idea of it is, it's because they were never raised in it. As some of my African American comrades would say, they were never raised in this situation. So therefore, they will never see the social pressures themselves because they were never raised in that situation. It pisses me off to no ends that we have to deal with racism and homophobia and ableism, period. But this is the cards that we have. This is the cards that we have. Peace out, YouTube.